You're listening to KWBH Radio, West Beverly High. What a whirlwind of an episode that we just watched.
I feel like I've seen it so many times too. It's just so fresh in my mind.
So fresh and so clean. We are watching this episode for a second time because we had a big technical glitch in the last time we were recording this episode. Steve Sanders broke into the radio studio and vomited all over the equipment, and we lost...
What a fucking asshole.
We lost our file.
God damn it.
Before we even start, Steve Sanders is a candidate for Loser of the Week.
Every week for the next 10 years.
But we are talking about Steve Sanders, so that can only mean one thing. Wine-021-Bros, we are back. We are back for another episode.
Hello, bro.
I'm Patrick M. Dunn. You probably remember me from the first 3 episodes.
I hope so. I am Steven DeFiore. I'm not as memorable, but hopefully I'm trying to be.
And together, we are the Wine-021-Bros, celebrating all things Beverly Hills 90210 related.
25 years later.
Yes. All these years.
Yes.
It's still a craze. It
is. It's on Pop TV here in Arizona, so fuck it. It still counts.
And there are still people tweeting about it on Twitter.
I noticed that. Yes, our Twitter, Wine-021-Bros, recently picked up on a bunch of Beverly Hills chatter. It was kind of nice.
Yes, we are growing. We are building a fan base, and maybe we will, I don't know, maybe we'll have like a con, like a 90210 con, like a Brenda con soon.
I fucking love that idea. Like, screw Comic-Con, I want Beverly Hills Con.
Yeah, we'll be doing meet and greets. We'll have our own booth.
Yes, it'll be us. It'll be the 90210-Bro. And then probably get Ian Ziering. He's probably the only one that would actually show up.
Or maybe even Madam President herself, Gabrielle Cartera.
Who is a horrible dancer.
You know what? Did you see that gif of her dancing at the SAG Awards?
I did. It was so sad.
I enjoyed it. It was very Andrea-esque.
It was. It was very 50-year-old woman.
I enjoy following her on Instagram. I enjoy her wacky adventures, and I don't know, she appreciates the fan base, I think.
She does.
So I hope you hear this episode and not the other 3.
Right, we're going to really try to be nicer to you.
But we were just talking pre-recording how I was saying that I really like Andrea again. I was not a big fan all these years, but I don't know, maybe now that I'm a 35-year-old human being, maybe I see her in a different light.
Now that you're almost her age?
Yeah, we're peers.
Yeah. I feel like she was an undercover teacher in that school.
Drew Barrymore and Never Been Kissed.
Mm-hmm.
Which episode are we doing tonight?
We are doing The First Time.
The First Time is basically Brandon gets laid and Brenda gets paid for babysitting.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, that episode over. We have it all.
Yeah, we got it down. What is the official DVD summary?
The official summary is... Brandon is visited by his ex-girlfriend Cheryl, but when she meets Dylan, she's quickly starstruck by his money and glamour. The tension builds between Brandon and Dylan until it erupts into angry words, hurt feelings, and flying punches.
Ooh, yes. So we get an infamous punch in the face. Is this our first act of violence on 90210?
I believe so. At least on screen, because you know we have serial killer Jason who's killed so many people so far that we lost count, but that was always off camera.
Brenda's date from the pilot is killing all these extras that are never seen again.
Refer back to our first episode if you need a refresher.
Yes, and you can listen to these episodes on iTunes or Brenda666.com. Shout out to our website.
And we are getting reviews on iTunes finally, so yay iTunes.
We should encourage our fans to leave a review, but it's really difficult to get to the page where you have to leave a review. I don't know how to do it. You said we got reviews, and I was trying to find them.
And so far, we have 2 5-star reviews, so shout out 5 stars.
All right, so how does this episode begin?
It is nighttime in the Walsh house, and there's a half-naked Brandon in the bathroom with his half-naked sister Brenda complaining about how strange Beverly Hills is. There's no fall. It's November, and they're in the middle of a heat wave. And there is something in this scene that you pointed out to me that just creeps me out.
Brandon is shirtless in the bathroom with his twin sister, Brenda, And I don't know, they're like brushing their teeth or something. And Brandon is wearing his Bugle Boy jeans. I assume they're Bugle Boy jeans because those are popular in 1990, weren't they?
They were. Yeah, up until like 94-ish, we'll say.
And they are facing each other. The entire time that Brandon is talking to Brenda, she is just looking down at his package. You can just see her looking down, clearly looking at his nutsack, and then looking back up, and then looking back down, and then looking back up. So
I wonder if that's where she put her cue cards.
Maybe. Because...
Yeah, she's like, I need to put them somewhere very noticeable, and everyone knows Jason has a huge package. Let's just tape it right up to the jeans.
I think this is the first time that I started really noticing it. Well, Brandon wears tight jeans, tight 90s denim jeans. And he is rocking a moose knuckle through this whole episode. They do a lot of scenes of him walking down hallways. They do long shots. You see side shots. And his penis pretty much has its own zip code.
It should, from what I hear. It's not like I bought Calendar Girl purposely looking to see if it's true that there's a dick slip. I would never do that. It's not in the widescreen, only full screen.
There's an alleged rumor that there's a PG-13 movie released in the early 90s, Calendar Girl, starring our friend Jason Priestley. And supposedly his dick slips out of his pants or underwear. What happens? I don't think I know the legend.
I know him and a couple of his friends are running naked on a beach, and as they're running, apparently it like flops up into the screen at one point.
Okay, so you have to be super quick on the pause button to capture this moment.
Yes, and you have to watch the full screen version, I found out, so like an old VHS copy. I have it on my Apple TV, so like iTunes, and it's widescreen, so it's cropped out that way.
Oh, okay. So you got to find a Blockbuster video somewhere. I think, isn't there like a Blockbuster in like Juneau, Alaska or something like that?
I think there's actually still one in Ohio somewhere too.
Yeah, there's like lone Blockbuster. They've gone rogue.
Not only do you have to find the Blockbuster, but you have to find a VCR.
Yes, and you have to go to like the ancient classics department.
Right?
You probably can't even rent it anymore. You have to actually just buy it now. And it's probably less than $1, and it's sitting on the bottom of one of those like VHS bins.
Right.
And no one has long enough arms to reach to the bottom of that. All right. So shall we talk about what Brandon and Brenda were getting themselves into this week?
Yes. Brandon gets a phone call. And Brenda, for the first time, I think, she's really self-aware that she knows that no matter what she does, she'll get in trouble for it. But Brandon, if he does the same thing, won't. So she's afraid that the phone call is going to be for her because it's after 11. But look at that. It's for Brandon, and he's not in trouble. It's his old girlfriend, Cheryl, calling from Minnesota.
Yeah. Jim comes into the room. He's so excited. He's like, hey, Brandon, Cheryl's on the phone. And he's like, Minnesota, Cheryl? And he's like, yeah. And he's talking to her, and they're all just fucking eavesdropping.
The whole fucking family. God damn, it's fucking creepy.
You see, like, Brenda's head peek out the bathroom door. Cindy's like walking by the room with like
a basket of clothes or something.
She's like, oops, I forgot to grab socks from Jim's room. Jim comes by with like a baseball mitt on, throwing the ball up in the air and catching it as if he's going to play catch with Brandon at 11 o'clock at night on a school night of all nights.
But Cheryl called to basically ask if she can stay with Brandon. She'll be in town for the weekend. She wants to see Beverly Hills. And before he even has a chance to ask, he basically says, yeah, sure, come on over. And Brenda, of course, volunteers her room. And Jim and Cindy are basically just like, you know what? It's too late now. You fucking already asked her to come over, so it's not like we can say no.
So I love this. So a 16-year-old child to his parents, Brandon's like, hey, Cheryl is coming for the weekend. Not, can Cheryl come for the weekend?
Like, hey, do you guys want to talk to her mom? Make sure it's okay if she comes out for a couple of days.
She's basically an underage person flying across the country on short notice. Cindy didn't even have time to like dust off the cot and the guest sheets. They were probably still in boxes in the attic.
Right.
Because she's like, no one's going to come and visit us for a while.
Probably a broken toaster up there.
Jim, on your way home from work tomorrow, can you grab a new toaster?
What happened to the toaster we brought?
I threw it on the ground a few weeks back when Brandon was being a dick.
When isn't he being a dick, though, Cindy? Come on.
These first few episodes of Beverly Hills 90210, like, Brandon is supposed to be the hero, but he's just kind of an ass.
He is. Which, you know, going back to the episode that we kind of named him the Superman of the Beverly Hills universe, Superman can be kind of a prick. He can be kind of an ass. So, like, it still fits. You know, I was thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, he still fits as being Superman.
Well, I guess you gotta learn your true colors, maybe. This is all a lesson in discovering who you are. It's the journey of Brandon.
It used to be the journey of the Walsh twins, but that didn't work out well for Brenda. Well, for Shannon Doherty, unfortunately.
All right, so what happens next?
So next, we're in school. It's the next morning, and Andrea is dressed kind of like Mickey Mouse, and she's talking to Brandon, who, of course, as you mentioned, is wearing the tight jeans, and he has the shirt tucked into the jeans. Now I know why the shirt was tucked in. And Brandon's asking if she can find someone to cover the football game because he had something come up, and Andrea immediately knows, oh, it's a girl. Who is it? And she keeps asking and just egging him on for details. She wants to know everything she can about Brandon. So he tells her, we dated for about a year. We cut each other loose when we moved to Beverly Hills.
Andrea low-key has a thing for Brandon.
It's not very low-key. It's low-key to the characters, but to us, the viewers, it's not.
but we haven't really got a personal moment with Andrea, like just her by herself,
right?
Reflecting on Brandon. So you kind of she's always just kind of like checking him out from afar, or she's like inventing articles for him to write so that way she can just always be at his side. And he just pretty much is like always shutting her down. He's shutting a lot of people down.
I think he's oblivious to Andrea, though. I really think he has no idea like what she's attempting to do with him.
No, because I think Brandon kind of sees her as like an equal, just someone that he can maneuver these rough waters of Beverly Hills with. Because I think Andrea is definitely an outcast in her own world, and Brandon's a newcomer, newer-ish comer. He's already been here for a few weeks. He's starting to like plant seeds with Steve and Dylan,
and even a little bit with David Silver in this episode.
Not really, though. He's very standoffish to him.
He is, but it's a good introduction for Brandon to meet David.
They're really trying to force David into this world, and they're just taking their sweet-ass time with it.
They are, and they're really trying to make him look geekier than he actually is, too. Like having him, drop the books after running into Brandon, which happens next in the story. Brandon runs into David, they drop their books. David's helping him pick everything up, and in the process is trying to tell a story about a girl he met at summer camp. And in true David fashion, he talks way too fast about a 12-year-old that he met, and they were hot and heavy all summer, but she lived in Pittsburgh, and she wanted to come out and visit me. Bottom line, she never came to Beverly Hills and dumped me for an older guy. But it made me nervous for nothing, so don't be nervous about Cheryl. It's like, David, take a breath. Come on.
And David never ended up hooking up with this girl because she got the flu and missed her flight.
Yeah, she got the flu, and then she hooked up with an older guy, he said.
For some reason, I remember her name, and it's Marla Melman.
Oh, my God. She sounds like she's 80.
That sounds like a made-up name.
Yeah, George Glass. Sure, Jan.
I was trying to figure out how they came up with that name, but I just couldn't. I was just trying to think like the writers were like looking around a room and they just saw all these things that led to the name Marla Melman, but I just couldn't even think of any way they could have come to this name.
They were watching The Little Mermaid. The men in the mermaid world are mermen. So it was close enough that they didn't want to steal it. So they're like, they'll just throw an L in there. It'll be merman, because that just came out like a year before. That's the only thing I can think of.
And the only thing that I remember about the scene is that David is wearing a white button-up shirt with sea bass on them. And I low-key wanted that shirt. I was like, you know what? I kind of want that shirt. I kind of dig it. I'm digging his vibe. I like David's vibe. Like, David's like geeky vibe is modern-day fashion.
It really is. We've said it before, but he was so ahead of the time.
You can probably buy that shirt at Kohl's right now. And it's probably in like the classy clothes section.
Yeah, right. I could probably wear it to work. It would be okay. It's dress code appropriate.
Yeah, everyone's like, ooh, where'd you get that shirt? I'm really digging your thread, Steven.
Oh, I got it at Kohl's. It's the Mark Anthony collection.
Shout out to Mark Anthony and your made in Indonesia clothing line. Markup. Shout out to Markup. Speaking of fashion, Dylan is very briefly in the scene. He walks by Brandon and David, and he's wearing like PJ pants to school.
He's wearing the same pants that I was wearing when I watched this episode, which really kind of freaked me out.
Like green flannel pants.
Yeah, kind of bluish on my end, but yeah, same pattern and everything.
It seems so very un-Dylan-like too, because I feel like he was trying to create that vibe in his first appearance where he was just this cool, dark, mysterious, shadowy figure.
James Dean type.
Yeah, and now they just have him showing up to school in like a white t-shirt and PJ pants.
Are you watching Riverdale with him in it, with Luke Perry?
I have not seen it yet. I mean, I'll eventually get to it. I don't watch things as they happen. I watch them
that's right.
later on when it's all available at once. I can't live with this week-to-week shit. I've gone my whole life that way, and we are in a brave new world where that is not an option. So you know what? I'm going to stick with that.
It's one of those shows I'm tempted to actually buy the season pass on iTunes so far, because I actually really enjoy it. So shout out to Luke Perry's continuing career. Who would have thought?
I would have thought. I always knew he had superstardom and longevity in him.
I always secretly hoped, but at the same time, I thought he would be a complete burnout.
You thought he would be a Scott Scanlon?
Like dead at 20.
Is he dead?
Or in his case, 40. Yeah. Who, the actor or the character?
The actor.
No, the actor's alive.
Well, you said dead at 40.
Yeah, no, he's alive.
I was scared.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. No, he retired from acting, though, so who knows what he's doing. I think he was, like, military guy.
He's a cadet.
Right. Oh, should we talk about Brenda and basically get her storyline out of the way?
I think we should, and I have a few, like, sly comments on this, so let's get that out of the way. So what's going on with Brenda this week?
Well, Brenda, Kelly, and Donna, who was missing last week but is finally back, and I fucking missed her, are obsessed with this algebra teacher.
Mr. Brody.
Thank you. Was the first name Matt, or am I making that up?
I think it was Matt.
Okay.
Brenda definitely refers to him as Matt later on in the episode, and Cheryl is like, you call your teacher by his first name?
And he looked like a really shitty Patrick Duffy impersonator, in my opinion.
He did.
Maybe that was in the 90s, like dudes with super fucking long mullets and just disgusting fucking faces. I don't know. I didn't like him.
The casting call was like, we are looking for a Patrick Duffy type to play a geometry teacher that has an interest, that is a potential love interest for Brenda.
Mm-hmm. With a very stupid wife.
So I guess one thing that we can say about Brenda is she likes older guys. I think it's safe to say.
She does. She is the inverse of a cougar, whatever that would be.
Like a cougar pup.
Jailbait.
She should work for like the local police and just be the Dateline NBC jailbait that Chris Hansen like hires.
That was his name. Yes. No, I like that idea. They just have to do a little Photoshop on her eyes and her photos online.
I do like that she is non-symmetrical though. I think that's part of her appeal.
I like it. But now that I know it, I can't unsee it. Like, I never noticed it until I think it was Family Guy mentioned it. And then I watched an episode, I was like, holy shit. I was like, I need to watch, like, seasons 5 through 10 now. I can't look at her anymore.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Shannon.
We're going to have to deprogram you.
Can that work? I don't know. Anyway, Brenda is asked to stay behind class after geometry. And Matt asks her if she will come over tonight or tomorrow night, whatever, over the weekend and watch his kids so he can go out on a date with his wife. So Brenda agrees. She tells Cheryl when Cheryl arrives all about Matt, Mr. Brody, and how she thinks he's the hottest boy in school, and she's so excited. She's going to see him this weekend. She goes to the house. The wife's a complete and total cunt bag. I would hate to be Brenda and be like, wow, this is this guy's family? I want nothing to do with him.
There's a moment right before Mr. Brody asks Brenda to babysit, and it's like the end of class, and he's like, Brenda, all seductively, can you come up here for a moment? And she flips her hair. She does that little, like, very innocent but seductive stroll to his desk. Yes, Mr. Brody? I have something I want to ask you. And then she like cuts into one of those soap opera fantasy scenes where she just imagines that he's asking her to run away to Paris or something and get married. And then it cuts back where he's like trying to take her out of that world. And he's like, I just need you to babysit for me this weekend. And you seem like the most mature person in school, which is probably true.
Not Andrea.
He probably doesn't know Andrea. Andrea, like, this is probably not an advanced class, I'm guessing.
Right. It's like the general academics, not the higher IQ-ity or whatever. Yeah. The classes I would never be in.
Yeah, the math class that Kelly, Donna, and Brenda are in together, this is definitely not a class that Andrea would be in.
This was like my senior year taking a 9th grade math class.
There is no way that Donna and Andrea would ever cross paths, ever, in like this 4-year run, except that because Brandon and Brenda come to Beverly Hills, that's like why they know each other.
Yeah.
They're kind of like the catalyst. They change everyone's lives.
Yeah.
They bring this ragtag team of people together. So shout out to the Minnesota Twins for making a difference.
Is that a sports reference?
Maybe.
I understand your sports talk. It's like someone's like, who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl? I'm like, Lady Gaga?
Left Shark?
Like, she's doing the halftime thingy, right? They're like, the halftime show? Yeah, that thing.
All right, so Brenda basically ends up at Mr. Brody's house, and she gets dressed to the nines for this.
She does. And did you catch the queer necklace that she was wearing?
I did. And she was wearing a Jerry Seinfeld puffy shirt too.
She was. She was like a pirate.
This is where we first meet Mrs. Brody. I guess it was supposed to be maybe semi-romantic when Mr. Brody answers the door and he sees Brenda, and Brenda just kind of like batting her eyelashes. And then she steps foot into the house, and the house is a dump. There's toys everywhere. There's Legos on the floor. The kids are screaming. They They probably draw on the wall with crayons and markers and chalk. And then Mrs. Brody comes downstairs. She starts immediately screaming at Mr. Brody. She's like, "You're not wearing that fucking jacket to the movies, are you?" She's like, "That jacket is fucking garbage. You are garbage. You are a horrible husband. If my father ever..."
Is that what the subtitle said?
Yes. If my father ever saw you wearing that jacket with that tie and those pants, he would fucking pull the plug on the bank account that is paying for this house. And he's just like, "Oh my God, get me out of this."
Right? Brenda, that fantasy you had, I heard you. I'm ready. Let's fucking go.
Send me a life raft.
Voulez-vous coucher avec moi ce soir?
Creole Lady Marmalade.
Yay, pink.
The Brodies go to the movies, and then Donna and Kelly show up because they are nosy, and they're basically they just want to snoop through Mr. Brody's underwear drawer, see what kind of like kinky shit he's into.
I have to tell you this story, actually. This past weekend, my parents came over to my house. They wanted to borrow something for my aunt who's coming to town this weekend. And I was like, yeah, sure, come over Saturday. So Friday, I'm like, I'm going to clean up. And of course, I have to hide all of our handcuffs and ropes and other things that we have. So I just kind of throw them in one of the dresser drawers. And of course, the dresser starts like leaning forward a little bit because my apartment's uneven. So my mom sees it. She's like, something's wrong with your dresser. It won't sit right. And she's trying to push it back and the drawer just pops open. I'm like, and there are all the handcuffs.
They're just an explosion of sex toys.
And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, you know what? I'm married. I have sex. Deal with it. Don't be like Cindy.
Which pretty much takes us to our next, the main event, shall we say.
The main event, Cheryl, is at the house. She got an early flight and is hanging out on the front lawn talking to Cindy because that's what people do. Brandon's asking Brenda, do you think I changed too much since we moved from Minnesota? Should I stop at the store and get her flowers before I pick her up? But before you can do any of that, Brenda says, nope, look, she's here.
Cindy and Cheryl come running out of the house. They're both excited. This is like the first time that Cindy has probably talked to anyone outside of the family other than the maid that they had in the previous episode.
Who probably never comes back.
Yeah, she's like, "Cheryl and I have been gabbing for the last hour and are just having the best time.
Don't you know?
I'm now caught up on all the Minnesota gossip. I know everything that's going on," because no one from Minnesota probably calls her because they probably think Cindy's like a movie star now.
Either that or she's a cokehead. Only two options in California.
Movie star or cokehead?
Yeah, I vote cokehead.
Well, luckily for us, Cindy remains true to herself through the whole series until they just like decide to like brush her under the rug.
But any appearance, anytime I see like special appearance by Carol Potter, I'm just like, yeah, Cindy's back.
You high five yourself.
Makes me happy.
My favorite line of the episode is when like Cheryl's like, "It's 90 degrees in the middle of November. Totally unreal." And then Cindy's like, "That sums up my life."
She's like, congratulations. You just did my entire story arc of the last 4 episodes in one line. So what happens next is kind of creepy. So you have Brenda and Cheryl. We already mentioned they were talking with boys, whatever. Cindy's convinced that something is going to happen tonight between Brandon and Cheryl. She's trying to get Jim to kind of get up, tell Brandon, to stay away from her. But Jim's just like, "Cindy, I have to fucking work. Just go to bed and shut the hell up." So Cheryl takes her shower, and as soon as the water turns off, there's a knock on the door, and in comes Brandon in his underwear. He tells her that he just wanted to say goodnight, and he starts making out with her. He picks her up, he moves her over to the counter, and then he whispers in her ear, "Come to my room in an hour, and don't say no," which...
And she is super skeeved out by this. She's like, yeah.
Who wouldn't be?
I was just on a long-ass plane flight to Los Angeles. I've probably been up since yesterday. I just want to rest. I'm not really sure why I'm here in Beverly Hills, to be honest.
Don't say no isn't really turning me on right now. It's like, I know you have a huge package, but still... No.
I need options, Brandon.
You don't know any movie stars that you could maybe, just kind of point me in that direction instead?
Richard Grieco. I'm trying to think of who was like a movie star in 1990.
Dean Cain, I don't know.
We get this weird moment where we just keep cutting between Brandon and Cheryl, and they just keep individually staring at the clock in 15-minute increments. Mm-hmm. And I guess Brandon's like tossing and turning, nursing a boner, and Cheryl is just kind of like, all right, I'm just going to get this over with because he's just going to hound me the whole weekend that I'm here.
All fucking weekend, yeah.
So she shows up, and this is the funniest part of the episode to me. I don't know why. So She closes Brandon's bedroom door, and the second the door clicks, Cindy immediately wakes up. Like, her eyes open, and she shakes Jim awake. She's like, "Did you hear that?" Which is funny to me because Brenda pretty much just sneaks in every other episode, way past curfew, and they never hear her sneak in the house. Probably have to go through every room, tiptoe up the stairs. The same door probably clicks. Cindy hears none of this.
And I love the scene, though, where she heard it and she pops up out of the bed like a fucking vampire out of a coffin.
Like there's an intruder in the house.
Yeah, just straight up. No one does that when they wake up. It's never just like, holy shit.
To be real, she was probably just laying there with her eyes closed and just waiting for that sound. That's what I feel like was really going on.
She was.
Eavesdropping.
She was being a typical mother.
She shakes Jim awake, and he's like, "Just go back to bed, Cindy. We'll just deal with this tomorrow. What are we going to do? Run in there and just be psychopaths in the middle of the night?" And she's like, "But we owe it to Cheryl. She's a guest in our house. She's about to be penetrated by our son."
I'm just picturing that conversation, too. She's like, "Jim, now you know Brandon is hung like a horse. You know this. You've seen it. You're jealous of your own son. Do we want that for this young girl? She's probably inexperienced. You think she can handle a horse dick?" Speaking of huge dicks, one of my favorite lines in this episode happens when Cheryl and Brandon are in the other room and they're about to finally have sex. And she asks him, "Do you have any protection?" And his response is amazing. "Of course. It's always been my problem. Lots of protection. No one to protect."
Yes. So he's basically just been collecting condoms over the years.
Do you remember the first time you ever bought condoms? Was it embarrassing?
It was. It was such a weird moment. And I think I went like 3 towns away just in case I would run into anyone I knew.
I remember working at like a grocery store, and like anytime I would see people that I knew buying like shit I knew they shouldn't be, which is always funny to me. So like I was waiting to see like someone from my school or someone that I knew from wherever like buying condoms or lube or just something fun, but no one ever did that.
Can we cut to the next morning, the morning after?
The morning after, when Brandon is fucking in his seat just dancing with his hands in the air.
Yeah, we get a whole...
Fucking on cloud 9.
We get a whole new Brandon. He's up early. He's listening to jazz music. He's swirling around his room in his spinning office chair.
He runs downstairs. He makes orange juice for everyone.
Brenda's in her room, and she's like to Cheryl, "What the hell is that music?" And she looks at her, and then she makes a smirk. She knows. She's like, "Oh my God.
You bitch, you stole my man." Oh, wait, wrong person. You're not Kelly.
Downstairs, Cindy hears this music, and she's like, "You better speak to your son." And Jim keeps putting off. He's like, "Oh, I gotta go to work. I gotta sit in traffic for 2 hours. We'll do it later." She's like, "No, you got to do this now. I cannot deal with this for the next 2 days." They don't even know how long she's in town for.
Yeah, I think it's just the weekend. Like, she got in Friday, probably gonna leave Sunday.
Bust out on a Monday, missing school.
Those were the days.
I'm guessing this is probably a Saturday now because there was no school. And Brandon and Cheryl decide they're gonna go see movie stars. They're gonna go try to find Tom Cruise chilling in downtown Hollywood, and then they're gonna go meet up with Dylan, who lives in a hotel. The way Brandon talks about it, you would have thought that he had the keys to the castle. He was like, "And we're going to meet my friend Dylan, who lives in a hotel." And she's like, "What? He lives in a hotel?"
Now, for some reason, I always thought that Dylan's parents or father owned the hotel. So if that would have made sense, like that would have been kind of coolish. But I don't think they ever actually like say that. I think I just made it up in my head.
Dylan's parents just dumped him off at this hotel, and they just go around and just do these whatever Dylan's parents do.
Yeah, the mobster father and then the hippie mother. And I like the part though where they're just driving around and she's just taking pictures of landmarks and mansions. I've done that so many times.
And then they do like that thing where they freeze frame like what are supposed to be her snapshots, and they are awful pictures.
They're so blurry.
They're blurry, and she's taking pictures of like an intersection.
It's like no one cares about that. Do the street sign at least, Hollywood and Vine.
Yeah, see versus Rodeo Drive. Take a pic of that. Even the Peach Pit sign.
That will be a landmark soon.
Instead, she's taking a picture of, like, a red light.
Yeah.
Now we cut to lunch at the Bellage Hotel. And before we get to Dylan, Brandon, and Cheryl's lunch, I want to talk about the overly tan man with a slicked back blonde hair carrying a Variety magazine.
Yeah, I think you mentioned him, and I always forget to look for him.
And he's walking out with an obvious high-class hooker. It is Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman.
I have to rewatch the episode again.
The director focused on him him for a good 10 to 15 seconds. So it's not like he just popped into screen. The camera followed him walking out of the building. So I was like, is this guy going to come back up again? Like, what is his relationship to the story? But I do like that Cheryl keeps harassing the waitress. She's like, are there any movie stars here? And the waitress, the sassy waitress, is like, no, but you'll be the first to know.
And I love the generalized like term for movie stars too. It'd be like, oh yeah, see this guy over here at the table? He was mobster number 3 in The Godfather Part 3.
She could have just said that, and Cheryl probably would have believed her.
She was like, can I have your autograph? Okay, I'm a fucking doctor. What the hell?
He probably would have been like, sure. You want a prescription too?
Why not?
I got the feeling that this waitress, all day long, people probably come up to her and like, hey, are there any movie stars here? And she's just like, oh, another one of these fucking people. There's no movie stars here at the Bellage Hotel. But do you know who knows movie stars, though, allegedly?
I don't. Who?
Dylan.
You mean Dylan? Dylan knows the movie stars?
Yet, for the duration of the show, we never see him interacting with a movie star or a singer or a model or in anything.
No. Steve gets more like entertainment field people than Dylan does.
And I feel like, you know what?
Fucking Steve.
Brandon really wanted to introduce Cheryl to movie stars. He should have just swung by Steve Sanders' house because his mom is a movie star.
Television, but close enough.
But she probably did some film work, I imagine.
She did. She was probably in like the Jason Priestley realm, where you know him more for TV, even though he has done film.
She's probably in like a small scene in Single White Female, maybe. She plays one of the escorts in Risky Business. She tried to be a crossover. She tried to go that route, but she became a Shelley Long. She was not Kirstie Alley caliber.
Lucky for her. So where are we at? I don't know what's happening.
We're at the Bellage Hotel. Brandon leaves the table for a few minutes. I guess he has to go take a piss or something. Dylan invites Cheryl and Brandon, I guess, to a nightclub called Contact. Because I guess this is where the in crowd, the Hollywood it people, this is where they hang out.
Oh, yes. The exclusive private club.
This is what they do on a Saturday night. You can't just walk into this place. You have to be on a list. You have to know your way in. And guess who knows how to get in? Mr. Dylan McKay.
Mr. Dylan. I'm sorry, I can't do his voice.
Hey, Cheryl, you want to meet some movie stars? I can introduce you to the Coreys. And hey, you don't have a fake ID? It's all cool. And speaking of fake IDs and underage drinking.
Does that mean what I think it means?
It's our favorite segment of the show. It's Drinking with Dylan, or
Yay!
What should we call it this week?
Shit-faced with Cheryl.
Shit-faced with Cheryl. All right, so Steven, what are you drinking this week?
This week I am drinking what started out as a glass has turned into a pitcher of Sex on the Beach. This is my way of celebrating Brandon's first time.
Despite there not be any beaches in the vicinity of his deflowering, there was sex.
There was sex.
And I guess the beach can be a metaphor for his bedroom.
Edit. Oh, yeah. There was motion in the ocean if you had a waterbed.
And if you close your eyes, you can envision the beach.
Yeah, and who knows? Maybe all of like the crusty semen stains on his bedspread are like sand getting everywhere.
Yes.
Too graphic?
Perhaps.
Good. All right, what are you drinking?
I've just been sipping on some cranberry juice for the last half of this podcast, but I am about to deflower it. So we are going to earn that explicit rating.
Oh my God, are we getting an X rating on our podcast?
Here in my hand is a tiny little flask of Absolute.
Yeah!
And are you ready?
Plain vodka, like no flavors at all?
Nope, just straight up.
Okay.
Straight up original. And it is now pouring into my cranberry juice, and it has now been de-virginized.
Awesome.
Shout out to Cheryl.
Oh, congratulations, Brandon.
Thank you.
And cranberry juice.
All right, so we're at Club Contact.
Brandon, well, we have to kind of divert a little bit back over to Brandon. He did not get to go to the club with Cheryl and Dylan because he had to drop Brenda off at Mr. Brody's house to babysit. And we also got our first ever Dylan and Brenda scene, even though they didn't say anything to each other. They were together.
They eyeballed each other.
They did. So Brandon gets to the club and he can't get in. There's a long ass line and he isn't even willing to wait in line. He just wants to get in there. He wants to find Cheryl and he wants to basically either fuck her at the club or take her home and have sex again. But before he can do that, He makes a distraction. He runs in. What's his name? The bouncer guy follows him, and all these girls just go running into the club.
Yes. Brandon is a little mischievous here. He causes a ruckus to get inside this club. And he immediately finds Dylan and Cheryl, and they are slow dancing to an early 90s techno dance craze song.
Right.
Everyone around them is moving like they should be moving to the music, and Dylan and Cheryl are acting like it's their first dance at a wedding.
It's like fucking Boys to Men.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll make love to you.
Brandon breaks up this dance, and he's pissed. And he's like, I was supposed to be on the list. I was not. I had to pretty much sneak in here, and I catch you two slow dancing. And I guess Dylan's trying to explain himself a little bit, but Cheryl intervenes and she starts arguing with Brandon. And they're just like this like three-way argument breaks out between the three of them. Brandon gets pissed and he fucking clocks Dylan in the face. A shiner, right to the eye.
I'm surprised he could reach. No offense to short little Brandon, but good for you. You give us short people hope.
Dylan is okay with it. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to take off. I'm going to go back to my hotel and just brood. Yeah, Brandon, I'm going to go brood. You and Cheryl can do whatever you want. And Dylan takes off. Brandon and Cheryl are still arguing, and they're now at the bar, and Cheryl orders another drink. Brandon says something to Cheryl that offends her, and she just like storms out of there. Because I guess, is this where Brandon finds out that Cheryl has been laid before?
He basically tells her, you know, this isn't you. You're not the girl that I know. And Cheryl just says, you know what, Brandon, people change. You think you were the first guy I ever had sex with? Well, you're not. Trust me when I tell you this. Sex does not bring people closer together. It just tears them apart. And Brandon's just like, who was it? Who'd you have sex with? Tell me who it was. And she refuses to name a name. She says, it doesn't mean anything. The guy is a nobody. I did it because you dumped me so you could move here. So, you know what? It's your fault. And she runs away.
And then Brandon gets pissed, and he takes Cheryl's drink, and he smashes the glass. At the bar, right at the bar. No one kicks him out. He not only did he not get in trouble for sneaking into the club, he did not get in trouble for smacking Dylan in the face, and he did not get in trouble for smashing a glass in the bar. So
these are the bars I need to start going to.
Exactly. He's just fucking shit up.
It's like, I'm tired of getting kicked out of places. I'm going to this bar.
I guess when you are at this cool movie star club.
Anything you do will be tame.
Before we get to the hotel, I guess Brenda comes home from her babysitting gig. Kelly drops her off at the house. And Brenda walks into the house. She walks into her room, and Cindy is just snooping through all her shit. And Brenda's like, Mom, what the fuck are you doing in my room? And she turns around. She's like, Cheryl's mom called. She didn't just fly out here for the weekend. She ran away from home. Now this whole frantic search for Cheryl happens. Brandon is unaware that this is going on.
Yes.
He is now trying to find Cheryl, and he's like thinking, you know what? She only knows one other person in Beverly Hills. She's probably going to go to Dylan's hotel. So he stops there, and Dylan's like, yeah, Cheryl's here. And he's pissed for a second, and then he's like, hey, it's not what you think. She's in the bathroom puking up a storm. How much did she have to drink?
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like she had at least 3 of her blue drinks before Brandon got there.
I guess it's possible.
Because she didn't have to order anything. Like, she just, kind of said, another one, and the guy knew exactly what it was.
He just slid him down the bar at her.
So I'm guessing at least 3 or 4, which, if it was an adios motherfucker, because it was like that same color, I could see throwing up after a few of those.
It's all the sugar, right?
It's only the sugar. It has nothing to do with, like, the 8 different alcohols in there. It's the sugar.
Your stomach is just not agreeing with any of that nonsense.
It's like, what are you doing to me? Just drink pure alcohol, you bastard.
It's like it wants to escape, just like Cheryl wanted to escape Minnesota. I guess Dylan leaves Brandon and Cheryl alone, and Brandon and Cheryl start to hash things out. And I guess they make like an ice cream date.
They do. He calls room service after she tells him, like, I didn't want to drag you down with my issues. I'm sorry. I'll be better now. He says, that's fine. I'll be better for you. Let's have ice cream.
Yes, and Dylan, before he leaves, he tells Brandon, hey, I know a guy downstairs named Tony. He can hook you up with anything you want. Ice cream. Dylan knows a lot of people. It's a running theme of Dylan's life. There's always a guy that he knows that can do things for him. So shout out to Dylan.
It's just funny to me, though, that Brandon is, ordering ice cream for him and Cheryl. Then we cut back over to the Walsh family, and Cindy's still freaking out, but they're eating ice cream.
She's trying to keep everyone cool, calm, and collective at the Walsh household because Jim and Brenda are probably freaking out that Cheryl's missing.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really know what's going on, and she's doing her maternal duties. Yeah, so we don't get a full-blown snack tray.
She is. It's a pre-snack tray.
We just get an ice cream scoop.
But I do like, there was a part in this scene that really I enjoyed, and it was another Brenda calling out the hypocrisy of her family. When she says, Mom, I don't understand how you can be so calm. If this was me, you would be freaking out. And Cindy gently says, Brenda, I am freaking out.
But she knows how to calm her nerves, and it's with snacks or snack-like substances.
And it does work.
Right around this time, Brandon shows back up home with Cheryl, and Cindy's like, Cheryl, I think you should go call your mom, and I have a special private line in my bedroom that you can use. And we kind of get that family bonding moment right here, where everyone comes together. It's all nice, neatly wrapped up in a bow. In a Beverly Hills bow.
For a little bit. And there's a very key line here, too, that Brandon thought Cheryl knew everything about me. And Brenda points out, except that you used to eat Mom's makeup.
Yes. What was that all about?
I have no idea. I don't know anyone that's ever eaten makeup, but good for Brandon.
Maybe this was why Cindy started getting into snacks, because Brandon just kept eating all the cosmetics.
Maybe. Because he was inviting his friends over, hey, come on over, we'll play some hockey, eh? And instead of having chips, he's like, here, I have red lipstick for you. Here's a little bit of some pink for you.
Some Maybelline. Cindy used to be an Avon girl, but all of her merchandise got gobbled up, literally.
Jim had to pay for it all. That's why he had to take the job in Beverly Hills to pay off her Avon bill. Like, God damn it, Brandon, you are 16 years old. Stop eating my goddamn lipstick.
So Cheryl's now packing up to go home, and Cheryl to Brandon, she's like, give me a couple years, Brandon. I'll be back. I promise. No, you won't, girl. We will never see you again.
Right? Well, not before she gets to tell Brandon that he was a wonderful lover.
Brandon is still trying to pry who the guy was that Cheryl banged in Minnesota. She still won't say it because she says it doesn't matter, but there was one thing that she wanted to tell Brandon. But I guess they get interrupted by Brenda. She's like, oh, the cab is here. And she runs downstairs. And then right before Cheryl walks away from him forever, she turns around. No, actually, Brandon chases after her. And he's like, come on, just tell me what it is. Tell me what it is that you want to say to me. And she's like, Brandon, you are a wonderful lover. And then Brenda crosses her arms. Like, she's really disappointed.
She jumps off of the couch and, runs into the little foyer, I guess. And, yeah, she's crossing her arms and just staring at Brandon like, what?
But then she smirks because she knows her brother's a wonderful lover.
Right, and that gives her hope. If Brandon can do it and he's the bad twin, I can do anything.
Now, are we ready for the moment we've been waiting for at least 3 weeks? Jim Walsh's back hair. But it's more like shoulder fur. It's not full-blown back hair.
Shout out to Chewbacca is all I can say about this right now.
It's like a pool, like a swirl of hair.
That's true. It's like the little strip on the shoulders there, the little line. Well, I say little, but the big line.
So Brandon and Jim are outside playing b-ball in tank tops. And Cindy finally convinces Jim, you know what? I've been egging you for the last 2 days. You have to talk to Brandon about this sex thing. And Jim swirls the idea, and Brandon's like, Dad, we already had this talk when I was 12. Is there anything new that I need to know? And Jim's like, no, but is there anything new you need to tell me? And he's just like, hey, we were careful. Don't worry. And then he's like, all right. And then you get that dumb, father-son moment where he's like, son, you're going to break a lot of hearts along the way. And he will. He will break 1,000,000 hearts along the way.
And he'll have his heart broken many times, too.
Yes. Shout out to love, basketball, and back fur.
Speaking of back fur, I think it's time we get into our pros and cons of the week.
Yes. All right. So our final segment of the episode is Bros and Cons. This is where we talk about our favorite moment, the bros, or our least favorite moment, the cons. And then that will segue into our loser of the week.
All right. So I will start with my first bro. And I've already mentioned it a few times in this episode, but it goes out to Brenda for calling out the hypocrisy of her family. I like that. I like that she knows that there is a double standard between her and Brandon.
Yes, so kudos to Brenda for recognizing this, for being very forward-thinking. My first bro is, I liked the fun Kelly, Brenda, and Donna dynamic that was missing, I think, the last episode.
It was. Yes, they actually look like friends.
Yes.
My next one goes to Steve Sanders for being mentioned but never seen this week.
Very key. Very key.
Even though he fucked up our recording.
That's why Steve was absent from this episode, because he was ruining our original files.
That's why it wasn't seen.
My next bro is the Who cares if Brandon is having sex attitude of Jim Walsh?
What a dick.
He was just kind of like, you know what? He's going to do it eventually. We might as well let it happen under our semi-watchful eye.
He could have just volunteered Brenda to go in and watch, and I'm sure she would have.
Yeah, she would have had her binoculars, her like Harriet the Spy kit.
My final bro of the week goes to Jim for not shaving his back hair.
Yes.
Respect.
Thank you, Jim, for giving us a glorious moment in 90210 history. It's a gift that you can very easily find online.
And you will probably see it on our Twitter at Wine-021-Bros when we broadcast this episode.
Yes, or our website, brenda666.com, because it's probably going to be the main pick that we'll throw out.
That's awesome.
And my final bro is the fun waitress at the Bellage Hotel who was keeping an eye out for celebrities for Cheryl. You were doing God's work there, waitress. You were keeping these tourists hopeful and entertained and just being seconds away from possibly seeing early 90s superstars. Christina Applegate, I don't know.
Ooh, that would have been fun.
That would have been a fun cameo.
Yeah. Oh, I like her.
All right, shall we get into our cons?
Yes. My first con goes to a woman whose name I don't know, but it's the bitchy wife of Mr. Brody. That bitch needs to get divorced.
My first con, speaking of the Brody house. It was more like the Grody house, covered in toys and just littered with child debris.
Disturbing. My next con goes to the Walsh family for how involved they were in Brandon's sex life. It was borderline creepy, and not even borderline. It was fucking creepy.
Yes. Some things you need to keep private. But it might have...
From your
It
family.
might have been Brandon's fault for like advertising this, because he's probably never waltzed around the house to jazz music before.
True.
This could be like a con within a con.
Yeah.
And my next con is the bouncer at Club Contact for doing an awful job. You just allowed an underage teen to sneak into the club.
A shit ton of them.
And a bunch of other people
Right.
who were not on the list. Celebrities' lives were in danger.
My final con of the week goes out to myself and to Jim Walsh for making me more aware of my own back hair issues. Tomorrow, I'm going to go to Target and I'm going to buy some Nair for men.
Very personal. A very personal moment.
Yes. It's heartbreaking. I'm half Italian and German, so I have hair everywhere.
My final con? A heat wave in November. I don't know. That just sounds weird to me.
It's almost 80 degrees out right now. February 3rd, and it's nearly 80 degrees. I am in a tank top and shorts, and I'm still sweating.
Well, as you just mentioned, you are covered in hair, so...
That's true.
That could be the reason why.
That is true.
All right. Loser of the week. Who is your loser of the week? And
My loser of the week was so fucking painful for me to admit, but it goes out to the one and only Cindy Walsh.
what?
I know. And I get it. You know, it's important to be actively involved in your teenage children's lives. But god damn it, woman, back the fuck up. Let Brandon just be. Back off. Just go away.
All right, my loser of the week, you already mentioned her, Mrs. Brody. I don't know. There was just something about her that rubbed me the wrong way. She was just Beverly Hills elite at its finest. She's probably the leader of the PTA. She's definitely Christina Applegate character in Bad Moms. That is Mrs. Brody. All right, so what's coming up next week in the world of Beverly Hills 90210?
Next week will be our first time ever doing a doubleheader.
Yes, because
And I purposely used that sports reference too.
we are now venturing into 2 back-to-back Brandon episodes that, I don't know, they just reading the episode descriptions, I kind of remember the episodes, and they are semi-painful, I think.
I think they're episodes that you just need to watch and just to say that you've seen them all. But that's it. You will find nothing worthwhile in these episodes.
I mean, there's probably takeaways, things that are relevant to the future of these characters, but we're still in the early days of 90210, so they're still trying to figure out their groove and who these people are and how we're going to get these people together in the long run. So
it's not as soapy yet as it will become.
With the good, you have to have the bad.
And get ready for 2 bad episodes.
The bro wagon is taken the long way through town.
But we're going to make it easy for you.
So join us next week when we do back-to-back episodes of Beverly Hills 90210. So follow us on Twitter at Wine-021-Bros and our website, Brenda666.com. And I guess just in general, just peace out, bro.
Peace out, bro.